Hello and welcome. Thank you all for joining me today. I'm Nick Rohn, Director of Technology for the Asset Leadership Network, and I'm excited for a special ALN Thursday at 3 program today with new ALN Organizational Member facil.ai with Keith Gipson, Founder and CEO, and Danielle Radden, Director of Growth on the line, but we're going to bring them in just a moment. First, we want to thank ALN patron members Jacobs, Mantech, Onuma, ABS Quality Evaluations, and CGI, as well as all our organizational members for helping make programming like this possible. And we would love to work with more. We would love to expand this list. And please reach out if you would like to work with the ALN or wonder what value we can bring, because we really think these ideas and concepts we work with and the network that we are blessed with can help just about every organization in the world. And with that, upcoming events, we have a book club discussion, continuation on the discussion of Nexus with our CEO, Jim Dieter. And that's a book by Yuval Noah Harari, and about information networks through the ages. Really interesting, especially in this age. And then next week, Thursday at 3, April 10th, we have a report from Kimono Numa, one of our patron member organizations, and Cyril Verlet. And Mike, maybe you can say, Executive Director Mike Bordenero, maybe you can say more about that.
Yeah, it really all ties together. Thank you very much, Nick. The book discussion club, the program today with our new member who has AI in the title, and what Kimon and Cyril were talking about at the National Facility Management Technology Association or conference last week, all ties in together. No, yeah, that was last week. And actually, Kimon and Cyril included some of the material that Keith and Danielle are going to be showing. And the book club is a book that's called A Brief History of Information Networks from the Stone Age to AI. This is really about the leadership of moving into the next rocket ship of information management and how important it is to have an asset management governance umbrella over these activities. And Keith and Danielle, if you want to come on board with us, we're so happy that you're joining as new members and as specific new members because of facil.ai. We have established an ALN pilot project network where we're going to have people come into the ALN to showcase their capabilities by offering participation in a pilot project so owners can see what is possible and begin to test the waters of using the capabilities of the new tools and processes that are just evolving left and right. So welcome, Keith and Danielle.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
So we've met each other through the Coalition for Smarter Buildings and the Monday Live group that does a lot of discussions like this. Very happy for that. Keith, can you tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll move on to Danielle.
Sure. Thank you. Again, pleasure to be here. So my background is from, I have a long history of background with building control systems, starting with Honeywell back in the mid 80s as a technician, moving to Johnson Controls as a systems integrator and engineer, application engineer, and then moving through I did a brief stint at PG&E Energy Services and their startup company, Vantis Energy, around 97. Founded my first startup company called Silicon Energy Corp in 1997. Invented and along the way got a United States patent on enterprise energy management. And here I am, 2025, 7 startups later, and trying to pioneer, a little bit with AI now.
And the audience is going to really love what you're pioneering. I've seen the case study Danielle, you gave me a great presentation, but before we get on to that, can you talk a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, I'm new to the smart building space. However, a long history of science. So I went to school for biochemistry. The idea was I was going to study neuropsychology and I was going to change the world of brains. And kind of fell into this AI industry as the technology overlap of what human brains do. I fell in love. I'm here. This is where I am. Keith and I kind of got introduced just from an argument on LinkedIn. Amazing how arguing brings people together.
That's wonderful. And yeah, you're in the neuro industry by doing the AI. So that's a perfect lead in into having you describe what facil AI is doing and your intentions. And can you give us that big overview? I'll let you guys decide who does what.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny the argument. It was really I lost that argument because I was wrong, because I went on there and I said something like machine learning is a super AI was a subset of machine learning. I just too fast typing on my cell phone, on a LinkedIn post, and Danielle came on and she's like, that's not right. This high flying CEO of an AI company doesn't even know the difference between, machine learning and AI. I was like, oh shoot, I was wrong. Sorry about that. And I just loved Danielle's passion, and she called me out on a public forum, and I loved it. I said, I gotta meet her. We've been together ever since. So
that is great. So you gave us a great background on your patents and having enterprise systems experience where you're having different smart assets that speak different languages but talk to each other. So that you've got a big background on that.
Yeah.
And this new company adds the AI element to it. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Exactly. Don't mind.
Do you mind if I share some slides, or?
Please go right ahead.
And Tracy said that our screen seems to be flickering. I don't notice anything.
I'm sorry, Tracy. I think that's your screen because I don't see flickering.
So I can kind of go through a very quick summary, but the grand scheme of things is, since the 1960s, 1970s, we've kind of went with this philosophy of if it ain't broken, don't fix it. And Keith has really embraced this idea that actually, if it ain't broken, you can still optimize it with AI. And we don't need to come in and make a bunch of changes. We don't need to replace anything. AI is going to be better with the existing system you have. And if better is possible, good isn't enough. So we need to come in and ultimately be better together. So that's where we have the AI agent that's designed to supercharge your existing systems. So we are running on top of what you already have to just make it that much better. And we're seeing results where, we'll skip to this, we're seeing results where it's up to 40%, 38% more efficient systems. Just by using AI. And the AI is relentless. It never sleeps. All it does is babysit your system to make sure that it is getting the most out of those pieces of equipment.
So that sounds simple, but I know there's a whole lot of complexity in there.
Yeah, easy, which is what facil means, by the way. So yeah, easy is our tagline. Yeah.
And what is that language that means that in?
What is it? Spanish. Facil means easy, and what Spanish,
French,
yeah.
Portuguese, Klingon, I think.
Romantic languages like Klingon.
Yeah. So and that's with the 30% increase in higher precision and performance. So we get asked a lot about, what if the AI goes rogue? Come on, the AI can't do much. It can't do worse at all than I always say, the Nintendo 64 hanging on the wall that I probably programmed 35 years ago. Like it's never going to do a worse job. So when it starts off, it takes over the control of the system after it studies it for a while. It can't do worse than a PID loop. a poorly tuned pin loop. So it's going to start with that, and then it's going to gradually improve now that it's taking custody of it. It's never going to do worse than that. And the worst case scenario, if it goes down, it just falls back to your unoptimized, low optimized state.
Excellent. So 40%, that's a stupendous number. That's going to get a lot of people's attention. And so talk a bit about where that 40% gain comes from. So you might go into a company that has a different heat generator, different air handlers that are talking different languages from the controls. There might be solar. How many systems are you harmonizing? Is there an average or?
Yeah, great question. So we have 2 agents that we call them, and we're equipment based. So we charge by the equipment. So these are agents that optimize HVAC equipment. So we have one for a central plant. It's a central plant agent. It knows all about central plants, knows how to run them better than any human being ever could hope to. And we have a rooftop RTU agent that knows how to optimize a portfolio of 5,000 RTUs. One of our customers is a retail store. We're adding agents as we speak. So air handling, air side, boiler, heat pump, all that stuff. So we're just going to start, we're going to become an AI agency, and our employees are going to be agents.
Okay. So the other item they're talking to is the building automation system.
Always. They take control of the building automation system. Yep.
Okay. Then is this a good time to look at some of your slides? Typically, we don't do slides, but this is worthwhile going into a little bit more detail than we typically do.
Sure.
All right. And while we're waiting for that, let the audience know we are not going to be finishing in a half hour today. I'm too interested in this to end in 30 minutes. So go ahead, Danielle, you can share your screen. It's not sharing to us.
Oh, all right. Hold on. Let me go back to the other.
You thought you were sharing all along.
I was pulling up the appropriate slides for all of this.
Well, I'm glad that we had the discussion without the slides because we got to see your faces, your smiling faces, and the environment. Keith, can you tell us a little bit about the whiteboard that's behind you while we're calling these up?
Yeah, this is the Bat Cave. I'm over here at Cal State Dominguez Hills, co-located in their conference room. I just kind of Kenny Seaton and I, or Kenergy as he's affectionately called. He's one of the most advanced, plant managers in the universe, and we're working on a Johnson medicine system that I used to actually work on in 1993 when I was a tech. I live in Carson, California, about 4 blocks away. So even before I started Facil, I knew I had to have a friendly customer to kind of collaborate with and utilize their campus. And Kenny and I hooked up 5 years ago, and we've been kindred spirits ever since. And so this is where we do the vast majority of our R&D, is at Cal State University, Dominguez Hills.
Excellent.
So that and whiteboard is just they kind of I kind of moved in and never moved out, so they gave me this fantastic whiteboard, and
that's great
stuff behind me there.
So we see the technology overview. You want to walk us through that?
Oh, yeah, sure. So this is great because it gives me an opportunity to explain the differences between the various kinds of AI. So let's start with the first one that the vast majority of people are familiar with, and that's generative AI. So that's where you're going to have a model. It's going to be like, show me a picture of a cat, or actually, yeah, it's generative. So it's going to generate text or a picture or something. All that stuff, with the basic premise behind AI is that there's called ground truth labeling. So how does it know how to draw a cat? Well, human beings are the ground truth, right? So all the AI that's been put forth on the market and the industry so far is human intelligence transferred to the machine. So don't forget this transfer process, because this is very important. So how do you tell it? How does it know what a dog, like the dog or cat looks like? Well, humans show it like 100 pictures or 1,000 pictures or 100,000 pictures or whatever. And that's how, so the humans ground truth label the AI. Now move over to the next type of AI, and that would be predictive AI. So that's good for, like TensorFlow is a predictive model. So again, how does it predict? Humans create a model, they're the ground truth, and then they move over and it starts to predict stuff. So they show it weather patterns. Now there is a little bit of self-learning that happens with predictive AI, but the most advanced part of AI and the part that we're involved in is called prescriptive AI. So that means we're not generating content or words, we're generating outcomes and control actions. So that's the big difference. We're not over here doing a prediction of how a chiller works. We've all heard digital twins and all that stuff. I always say you might as well try to model a tornado, So the AI outcome is only going to be as good as the model. And if we knew how to run a central plant, we wouldn't need the AI to optimize it, because we'd know. But there is no ground truth in learning how to run a central plant. State of the art, for example, for running a central plant is keep your condenser water temperature, first of all, as cold as possible to satisfy the most efficient piece of equipment in the chain, which is the chiller. And we forget about the cooling towers, the fans, the pumps, and everything else. So we look at it from a total central plant perspective. And then, our model is not some fictitious digital twin of a chiller. It's the actual chiller itself. So facil comes in, the agent looks at the chiller for about the central plant rather over the course of 2 to 3 weeks, learns how the existing operation happens, takes that over in week 2 or 3, and then it starts experimenting on its own, building its own model, tuning and tweaking it, and getting better and better. And that's the big difference in what we're doing versus everybody else. And that was a long answer, but I feel
that's perfect, because it sets up why the asset leadership network. Because in order to get to requiring or requesting you to do what you're doing, some leader needs to say, we need to look at this differently. We need to have a more holistic approach among our smart assets. That's the issue. And I think what you offer awakens people to realize what they can now specify or ask for.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
So, Danielle, do you want to add anything into the overview, or move on to the next slide?
No, I figure let's just dive into results, right?
Okay, thank you. Yes.
So this is a slide. This is demonstrating our 48% savings or improvement of efficiency. And the key thing about this, so if you look at the blue, this was plant efficiency from 2022, so before facil. And then the orange graph, or the orange bars, thank you, are after facil. So this is running AI. And what you'll notice is that, yes, there's a great improvement. Other competitors, other companies, other AI agents, they can get good results, but they're only improving the chiller because that's kind of the huge energy sink in a central plant. But they forget about, like he said, they forget about the pumps, the valves, the fans, the cooling towers. So we're taking a holistic view of the entire central plant, and we've improved the efficiency of the whole plant by 48%, not just the chiller. The chiller we've improved significantly more.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why having that real-time insight of what's happening is so important for us.
Yeah, and this is kind of like the only way I can put it is kind of the drop the mic moment. Like everybody knows what these numbers mean. They all know. Anybody who knows anything about a chiller knows that in the industry, historically, 0.72 kW per ton, like you've arrived. That's the best you can do. And I mean, it's bearing out. We went on 2 new customer site visits yesterday, both in the CSU system. And we did the calculation. It was a York chiller, and they were doing like, 140 some odd tons at 123 kW. And you do the math, and it was like 0.72 exactly. And I'm like, here we go again. It's going to be 0.72. We're going to drop that down to below 0.5 kW per ton and increase the output of the chiller by 30% while doing that. So it's amazing. I mean, people always ask me like the light bulb moment. Like I was even shocked myself of how powerful this AI is and what a great job it does at optimizing this type of stuff.
Okay, so what does it look like for you to get involved with an owner who's interested in exploring this?
You want to take that one?
Yeah, I mean, we integrate using a software gateway, and there's essentially three legs of our stool that make the seal successful, and that first leg is the integration. So we can integrate to over 27 different gateways. I can share that slide.
Yeah.
Kind of show you a brief list of what we have.
And they're like print drivers. So no heavy lifting. There's no owner's manual that comes with this. These are software drivers only. They're just like and I did this like years ago. That's what the patent is on. So enterprise energy management, like we turned building control systems into like printers with print drivers. So you just download the appropriate driver. It's seamless, no fuss, it's plug and play, literally. I know when I say that, there's all these buzzwords that everybody uses, but yeah, we proved this out in the industry, in the engagement. So that MSI aspect is the first leg of the three-legged stool. And I'll let Danielle continue with that.
Okay.
So we connect to the data, we integrate the data, it starts pulling in, and then after approximately a week or two of observation of what's happening, then the AI turns on. And our whole company is based on the idea that it has to be easy. So we've designed a pilot that is no risk. So we said, we can't have any upfront fees. We're going to do the entire pilot and we're not going to charge anyone until we prove value. So once our 30-day pilot is done and we deliver results, that's when an invoice comes out. If you don't see any results, then we shake hands and we part ways as friends, and no one is any worse for wear. There was no risk. So we have a software gateway, a no fee pilot, a no upfront fee pilot. And ultimately we want this to be easy. So we take care of all of the complexity, and that's really what it looks like for any potential customers.
Well, that sounds almost too good to be true, especially when you're coming up with 48% savings in energy costs. That's tremendous. Can you talk a bit about the pilot you've done there at Caltech?
Cal State,
Cal
Dominguez.
State, sorry.
Yeah. So it's a Johnson Controls medicine system. We're connected to the NAE, the Network Application Engine, or SNE, they call them. It's the master supervisory controller for the central plant. It's like, 15 feet below me. We're above the central plant in the central plant conference room. We load a driver onto this network. It can also come through the cloud through an agent. It talks directly to the Johnson medicine system, and then it pulls out it discovers all the points, pulls them out, classifies them. Even the setup is automatic, so it knows what 6 to 10 points it needs to accomplish that task of optimizing a central plant, outside air, wet bulb, condenser water temperature, certainly the set point, control point, number of stages, tons, all that stuff. A KW meter, if it's there. There's no manual setup with this stuff. It literally is a touch of a button. And that's usually how we conduct our demos. We'll have a 30-minute session. We'll show you, we'll re-implement it. I've re-implemented Cal State Dominguez Hill so many times, like on a daily basis, or sometimes multiple times. I've done an enterprise system where we delete the configuration of a 1800 building store portfolio with 5,000 units. And in 5 minutes, we're back up and running. So this thing actually brings on and onboards new stores as they grow. They're one of the fastest growing retailers that we started off at 800 stores 3 years ago, and they're up to 1,850 and counting. We don't even have to onboard new stores. So they add new stores, new control system. Our system automatically onboards it as soon as it comes online. We don't have to do anything. It's 100%, and I'm going to use this word, autonomous. There's no human intervention whatsoever.
All right, you've got the attention of leaders for sure. Can you explain a little bit about why the retailer is doing this and what the benefits the retailer is gaining from this approach?
So yeah, we actually have a case study on it, like right on time. Yep. I mean, look, again, it's the value proposition and the results. I mean, they're saving $200,000+ a month with 30% enhanced comfort and 40% reduced maintenance fees and truck rolls and alarms. So they just re-up for another 3 years with us. I mean, seriously, they're not going to go anywhere because we're creating such great value, and it's been such a great relationship, and we've been overperforming for several years now. So yeah, this is what it does.
So this gets into some of the asset leadership measurement issues. In order to be certified to ISO 55001, you have to say what measurements you want to go by and show that you're recording them. And you're able to measure comfort and human satisfaction.
Yeah.
And that's got to be huge to companies that realize that they're going to sell more products if people are comfortable in there, if the items are refrigerated properly, etc.
Yeah. Yeah, all that, because there's been a lot of kind of gaming and cheating, I call it, in the system, where for a while, just because of, I call it the DR effect in our industry. So everybody knows how you save your cut energy. I'm not going to use the word term saving, because you're not saving anything, because you're not getting the efficiency gain. So temporarily for demand response, we know what we do. We set the temperature up about 3 to 5 degrees, and we're saving energy. It's prescriptive. We're not saving any energy. We're sacrificing comfort for, do your part. Like I had 16,000 stores of retailers at my last company, Phoenix Energy Technologies, which is where we built this platform. And yeah, you're not saving energy. You're just taking it on the chin with comfort. You're cutting off every other light. Are you going to run your store permanently like that, with every other light fixture off? Of course you're not. You're sacrificing something in order to help the grid. So our industry needs to learn the difference between grid resiliency and prescribed actions and energy efficiency, which is a true game where you don't sacrifice comfort or anything else or production. So I call it the DR effect. And so what happened with our industry, we all thought that that's the way to save energy, running on the ragged edge of comfort. And then, honestly, the DOE statement that for every degree that you raise your set point, you save 3% of your energy. That was dramatically taken out of context. Okay, it's not true. First of all, our agents don't save energy by raising set points. That's a losing battle, and you're sacrificing comfort and everything else and revenue. Our agents actually lower the set point at times. So it's a failing strategy. It's very simplistic, childish almost, I call it. And it's time for us to do a better job. And the way we get there is by letting the AI take over and do what it does best.
Well, that's great. And it leads us to back to the Coalition for Smarter Buildings and the relationship that the Asset Leadership Network has with this group that has just been acquired by the Linux Foundation. And the idea that these types of devices, these approaches, can give energy generators real information about demand and response so that they can better balance their loads and maybe not need to build a new generation plant as soon as previously predicted. And if we can get this movement through this open source community going, then we can actually have a huge impact.
Yeah, and I want to point out that, I mean, today is the perfect day to talk about this. It's look at the stock market. Like, it's brutal out there. Okay, the retailers are struggling, commercial office all of us, everyone's struggling here. Energy efficiency is no longer optional. As of today, I'm going to say it. I mean, I've been crying in the wilderness for, 20 years, but it's not an option anymore. You either do this or you're going to go out of business. So seriously, like we have to stop wasting 30% of the 40% of the energy that buildings consume. We've been doing this for 100 years, and the time for change is right now. And we're leading.
Well, yeah, you're showing the way to achieve those efficiencies, and we appreciate the work and that you see the Asset Leadership Network as a suitable platform to amplify your message.
Yeah,
Uh,
thank you.
Then the phrase "yesterday's luxury is tomorrow's necessity."
Mhm.
What you're showing right here is a luxury of one or two companies with tremendous energy savings. And that gives them a wonderful star on their company. But every company is going to have to be doing this now. And it's,
Oh yeah,
it's
it's
not
not
a
optional.
luxury. Yeah, right.
It's not
I
optional. They
like
our a lot of our customers, we're under non-disclosure. Like they don't even want us to publicly talk about it because they seriously see this as a competitive advantage by doing this, and it is one. I mean, so a long time ago, we had a tagline at one of my other companies, Silicon Energy, back in '97. We're taking energy from an uncontrollable cost and converting it into a strategic resource flow. So that's what we're doing. We're the ERP system of energy. And so we're not at, it's not an uncontrollable cost that you just have to sign the bill and pay the millions of dollars, for a portfolio. You can get back in control, and AI can help you do that.
And it's great that you're sitting in a state university campus. Government agencies have to be public with their information. Private companies can keep the competitive advantage to themselves, but that allows us to do pilots with government entities so that that type of information can be shared. And then the city, which runs this, becomes the hub, the advertisement, the focal point for how the rest of the organizations in the community can save in the same manner.
Right on target, Mike. I mean, we're just exploding in the California State University market, community college, all that. Like we got five new ones lined up in progress right now. I mean, the universities are really snapping this up. That's what we're seeing, and the retailers, and also fast food quick serve restaurants are the three action areas.
Excellent.
That's keeping in mind, we really only went to market with these two agents at the very end of December. So we've already expanded into over 5 pilots in a couple months. And this is in an industry where often procurement takes 6 to 9 months. So the fact that we've already initiated these pilots is, I mean, it's unheard of, but it's definitely something that's needed. There's an appetite for it in the industry. Energy savings is real, and it's affecting everybody.
So the pilots themselves have to have some type of agreement, some type of letter agreement. You've done one with a friend, but what's your way of getting started? Is there any?
Yeah. So we use IPMVP option C. So it's a standard M&V process. To be honest, it really hasn't been that formal. It was with our retailer customers. So we came up with an IPMVP M&V plan.
What does all of that stand for?
Well, it's the International Protocol for Measurement and Verification Protocol or something like that. It's IPMVP. It's a standard M&V process. You want the, accuracy, complete, conservative, consistent, relevant, transparent, all that stuff. So it's a standard way to make sure, because you don't want you want to have a standard way to measure the savings. So
we're all about standards. That's
so
great.
we got our standard there, like it's a no-brainer, like everybody, this is an international standard. So that's what we use. We come up with a plan, an M&V plan. I won't say IPMVP again, 3 times, but it's an M&V plan. And then we say, okay, here's your baseline. You gave us your information, or we gathered it for you. Here's your baseline. We agree on the baseline target, which is usually a year or two before now. And then we enact a pilot and we measure the deviation and we create a report and we say, we think we saved you 19%. And then, we have a few meetings, and if the customer agrees with that, they can have their own third-party agency do it, like a certified energy manager or CEM. And yeah, if we agree that there's value there, we move to contract. We don't even, you mentioned about the contract, we don't go into all the writing and the legal stuff until we prove out that the customer feels that we're bringing value.
All right, that's
Gotta be easy.
that's an
Are
innovation.
you also asking how we like to go to market through partners?
Yeah, that's an important point.
So
Well, that was where I was going next, because we're the
Okay,
network.
Yeah,
People are saying how good this is already. I mean, you're going to be getting some calls. How do people partner with you?
So I think you have Kimano Numa on your call. He
Yes.
is actually a partner of ours. So that would be the first step, is get a hold of Kimon. We can set up a pilot through him. And
Tracy Markey is another one on the quick serve restaurant side. So
That's
Tracy,
true.
Tracy's on our board. He's a
Oh,
part
yeah, I
of,
see him on the list.
Yeah, I see him on the list. So QSR restaurant,
Okay.
or even the chiller stuff, like he's a partner of ours. So yeah,
Gotcha.
reach out to Tracy or Kimon.
Okay. We do have Kimon. Kimon, if you're able to talk. Oh, and Tracy's online too.
Yeah.
All right. So let's bring on one of them at a time. Nick, will you let Kimon come on, and then Tracy, thanks for joining us. We'll have you talk afterwards. We usually don't do this, but since we have this opportunity, we'll
Rebel.
get other
Yeah,
people to
Dave-
talk
Dave
about
will
your
tell you.
company. We'll get a different perspective on how this works and how this could be beneficial for asset owners. Hello, Kimon. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Keith. Hi, Danielle.
Hi.
We're gonna catch up tomorrow, right? So this is
Yeah.
great. It moves so fast. Yeah. A few weeks ago, I got a presentation, what you basically showed today, and I was so excited that we started brainstorming how do we connect with what we're doing. And then I went to the NFMT conference last week, and you sent me a clip of some of the things I presented it. And actually a few other really interesting things. I was sitting in other sessions, and others were presenting on stage about how this is the future. Like this kind of stuff's coming up. And I would raise my hand and say, no, I saw it happening. You better come to our session. And they were just kind of staring and looking at us. But
You get that a
anyway,
lot.
so it's pretty exciting, yeah. And the other thing that you said that resonates too, and the one you showed at me too, was very clear. Obviously, from our side, we're coming from the building and digital twin side, but I've been advocating for years to not overdo it, because the tendency is to show these glossy models, these fantastic, 3D things, which are great, but you're showing you don't even need anything basically. You just need the data, and you're running value through that. So it's
And we
really
can stream it to that model. We can make that model
yeah,
come alive with real data and telemetry, moment by moment.
exactly.
Yeah, we empower
Yeah,
those models. I call them Siamese twins, actually, instead of digital twins.
I love it.
It's like hooked up right to the chiller. Like our model, our AI works directly on the equipment, but then there can be a Siamese twin or a digital twin, that's getting updated in real time, and it can flow back and forth. So it's a perfect marriage.
That's
We're
great.
complementary.
Yeah, that's what
So-
got me excited about how do you marry these two worlds together. So I think there's a lot of potential there, and we're going to talk tomorrow more about that. So
I'm going to take a second here before I ask Kimon more about how facil.ai fits into the asset leadership network and use of secure open standards as a policy. But our pilot program is going to require 2 ALN members to work together, at least 2 ALN members to work together to address an owner issue, because we are acknowledging that the way the world is, no one company is going to be able to come in and serve the needs of everyone. This is about playing well together, and we will not do a pilot unless there's 2 entities sharing these things. So what Keith and Danielle and Kimon just said is facil.ai AI, I'm always saying it wrong.
Like facility, yeah.
Facil, facil.ai is getting the information. And then because you are in agreement about the use of secure open source standards, that information can be given to Kimon's system that has the map of this, and colors can light up according to what is happening based on your
Absolutely.
information.
So that comes with our service. So you get a web-based API that comes along with it. And then you can do anything you want with that. It's real time. And really, I'm gonna go out there again and make a controversial statement, but it's the first plug and play IDL in history. This is an independent data layer. It's what everybody's been talking about. We got it, and it comes with our platform.
Excellent. So, Kimon, how does this all contribute to what we've been trying to get owners to do, which is just have a policy of using secure open data?
Well, the part that excites me the most, we keep talking about wanting to get to total cost of ownership. This is like cost savings in real time, and there's no question about it. If those numbers are real, I believe you guys, but it looks amazing. And if owners can understand that that hits the bottom line, and you can, and it's irresponsible if they're not doing it. I think is kind of what you're saying too. There's no choice now. There's a way to do it. So then how do we make it happen? And then tying it to the simplified models that we've been building is exciting too, because all of a sudden you start seeing patterns to make other decisions. Okay, how are we scheduling and using buildings? And you're making informed decisions based on actual data that's coming in. And the API, we've been screaming for years about getting APIs into BIMs and this world here. It's very slow moving, but now that this is possible, it's going to open up a lot of doors, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, Tracy. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thank you, Tracy, for joining us. The group that Keith and Danielle and Tracy are involved in has a Monday live program at 3 p.m. on Monday. There's something about 3 p.m. Eastern, I guess. And it's been great hearing your discussions. But since you're here, you get to back Keith up. So it's not Keith just saying that his is the first. What, you've got the strong engineering background. What's your take on what's happening?
So we've been working in that SMB market, small medium building market, for a long time, and more specifically a lot with restaurants, convenience stores. All RTUs, no central plants. And so, Keith and I have known each other for 20 plus years or more, but hadn't done any business together in a really long time, and reconnected a few years ago at an HR show, and started looking at applying this to our situation. So when we go into a restaurant to put one of our platforms in for energy management, we're replacing thermostats, we're putting lighting controls in, refrigeration controls, and metering, typical. So we targeted HVAC on this, and the way that I described it to Keith back when this all got going, I said, it's like having a little man in every thermostat
Yeah, I
that's
love that.
there making an adjustment every
Or
15
woman.
minutes.
Turning the big wheel.
That's right. So, and that's what it's really about. When you have a platform like this that can look at all the external conditions, and has an understanding of when it's this, then I need to do that to optimize, and do that continuously. A lot of our customers are 24/7. So they're running, opening all the time. And restaurants have the highest energy density of any building other than data centers per square foot energy consumption. Small building, lots of things that consume a lot of energy, right? And generate a lot of heat. So we've had our challenges. It hasn't all been rosy. The way things work in a kitchen zone, for instance, in a restaurant, you've got a very enclosed space with literally a ton of equipment in there generating heat. That behaves way more differently than a dining space that's generally open and the only heat source are people sitting in, right? Or windows.
Yeah,
So
Tracy brings up a great point because we haven't, look, we haven't figured everything out. Okay, nobody has, to your point earlier, Mike. We've been collaborating on this fast food, quick serve restaurant stuff for what, a year or two now, Tracy, and
Yep.
we're still figuring it out. You know, we're not going to go to market until we have perfected this QSR agent, just like we did for retail, just like we did for chillers, central plant. We've been working on the central plant for 2 years, and we didn't release it commercially until October of last year. But we're figuring it out, and that's what we really want, Mike, is we want like-minded individuals like in your network to collaborate with us, customer funded. Like we'll partner with you. We won't charge you to build stuff. Like you're helping us build it together. And it's a better together story. Like that's going to be our latest. That's our, you know, we're coming out with that. It's better together. Let's just build something great together.
That is so why I'm so happy about the Linux Foundation and getting involved with them, because it is a better together community. And so Tracy,
That's great. Yeah,
is it safe to say that you haven't seen anything like this in the market?
Oh, no, I've been on a rant on all day on my calls about what we're about to accomplish in this industry as we start applying these technologies to it. I mean, if you just think about our case, you know, thousands of locations, thousands of thermostats, all of the data associated with the thermostat, set points, and how many stages are running, and temperature and remote temperature, and so on, all of that stuff. Now apply an agent that is reading and watching that information all of the time across a giant portfolio like that, and does it, by the way, and that's by our choice, every 15 minutes. It reanalyzes all of that stuff and looks at it. The scalability of something like this is tremendous. And when you apply a tool like this to that amount of data, only good things can come from this. I mean, if you don't believe anything else about AI, you need to understand that point. The fact that the scalability and its ability to look at massive amounts of data and understand how to improve things is just a baseline that you can't argue.
Yeah.
Right.
10,000 nickel. We're saving nickels per hour. So 10,000 nickels is $500 an hour. So you gotta think it's the scale. Nothing we've never everything is coming together now with the cloud and you know the integration capability. But yeah, you think you start small, but this stuff quickly multiplies. It's not diminishing returns like what we're doing now. Building by building.
As an industry, Facil's tool or any other, as an industry, we are just scratching the surface here. We truly don't know what we don't know yet about the outcomes that we will be able to achieve once we start applying tools like this to that data set.
So let's bring in Kimon on this, because Kimon's reintroduction to this group has ignited him to write a considerable series of essays for automatedbuilding.com. And there is a need for asset management governance over all of this, over the AI. Yes, the tool is very powerful and useful, but it's not in and of itself just a wonderful thing. There has to be human direction. Kimon, what are you exploring in your stories?
Yeah, well, it's a whole series. I'll put a link in here, but a series of posts about the technology and the industry and the stand. We've been talking about standards and BIM and digital twins for decades now, right? But what I'm heading towards is, I think, and in fact, there's a post I'm going to be putting out next week. It's the owners really need to drive that. They really need to know that this is even possible and ask for it. And if they don't ask, or first of all, realize it's possible, they can't ask the right questions. It sounds like science fiction. And then there's a lot of noise in the industry with stuff that doesn't matter that gets focused on, and then we miss the basics, and it's missed opportunities now too, I think. So I think it's up to us as an industry to message it correctly, to say, yes, we need the standards, but then also to not sit there and just talk about it forever and just get out and do it. And that's the part that the rubber hits the road, I think, is there.
Which is why I'm very happy that Facil facil.ai has joined the ALN. You did inspire this pilot project approach. I knew you jumped in right away with Kimon, and it's like, let's replicate this. Let's have other innovators showcase their capabilities.
Yeah.
And help owners even know that they can ask for this. They don't even know that they can ask for this yet.
Yeah. Better
They're
to do.
constantly talking about smart cities and smart buildings, but they're not really, I'm saying smart cities and buildings are still dumb, basically. They're just, they say they're smart, but they're not really
There you
smart
go.
until
Yeah. There you go. Prove it. Yeah.
prove it.
Cavemen
Yeah.
with fire, right, Keith?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we're very happy to be here, and I'm super excited. I know Danielle is too. We're just ecstatic. Like we the reception has just been tremendous over the last couple months, and we're just getting started. So
Excellent. Well, when you're bringing the results that you're bringing, yeah, I think people are going to be very happy.
yeah.
So Tracy, any closing words that you want to share?
No, yes, let me say it that way. If you haven't taken time to kind of understand some of the new AI technology and what's going on, how to apply that to what you do every day, whether it's your regular work or in systems like we've been talking about here, you're doing yourself a disservice. I am amazed every day that I learn a little bit more and use it a little bit further at the potential that this has at really changing things. So, my advice to people, I know a lot of this is scary. There's a lot of negative press around it. There certainly are legitimate concerns around security and some things like that. But if you don't get on board with this and start understanding this, you will be left behind. It will be it'll be like the people who could type and the people who could not type, right? When it comes to productivity.
It's going to happen very quickly too.
And
It is happening. It is happening very quickly.
It really is. So
Our future conversations are going to have to include scaling, rapid growth, and I suspect we'll need to be bringing in some finance members in this group to talk about how to get the seed money to spread this as wide as it needs to. Kimon, in addition to being on the forefront of using AI and showing use cases, you're also at the forefront of AI communication, where you've got videos you're creating and dancing robots in front of the National Convention Center in Baltimore.
Yeah, we use that event as an opportunity to do exactly what Tracy said. We need to get people comfortable and even playing around and understanding what does it really mean, because there's a lot of fear and misconceptions about, well, it's going to take over. Like he said, if we fear that, then yeah, it's going to not be useful for us. But the people that understand it. So last week we said, let's in our session we said we created a theoretical, okay, we have these 43 escaped monkeys which was a true story from a biotech lab. They're running around the convention center. We need to go find them. They're wrecking havoc in the mechanical room. And we got the audience to start communicating with us. And we took the communication from the work orders and we created a song and a video to be able to do the storytelling, because I think that's what we are missing in the industry too. We tend to overcomplicate a lot of this stuff. And if we can't tell the story, we can't communicate to leaders, hey, this is what's happening. So we're using it as an opportunity to do that. In fact, I took the dialogue that you guys were having earlier and I fed it through just as a test to create a song, and I created one on the fly here. I posted it back to you guys, but just to have some fun. But
yeah,
anyway, and
Well,
next week
it's
we're
a
going to
lot
be
of
running
fun.
through
I
that.
mean, this is a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
why not?
We're just
Why
having
not?
a blast. This is fun. This is what it's all about.
It seems that we're at another level. I mean, we've been evangelists for improvement for a long time, but something feels like this time it's taken off on a level that we've always hoped for.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see all the nodding heads. So Keith and Danielle, if you want to make any closing remarks.
Yeah, I have one. We got asked this before, but I think it's important to talk about what the moonshot is. Okay, so the moonshot for us is eliminating this 30% waste that's been happening for 100 years. I heard a statistic from, I think it was DOE or somewhere, that if every building in the world was just 10% more energy efficient, we would solve the world's energy crisis. And that's a big goal with a lot of return, especially when you're talking about climate change. So this is a big deal. It's not optional, and it's not optional.
No, it's not.
Danielle wants to.
Danielle?
Yeah,
Uh,
my closing thought is kind of this idea of, I mean, ALN is a network. We are not going to do this alone. We have to work together. I love the idea that this pilot program is a collaborative effort because there's not going to be a single industry, or there's not going to be a single company that provides the entire solution. We have to come together to actually bring change and drive momentum. And so it really is embracing this idea that we're better together, and 1 + 1 really does equal 3.
Excellent. So I know the audience, there are people with representing some large owners. Please feel free to reach out and start talking about how to bring a pilot to your asset owning organizations. And it's a pleasure working and talking with you all. Nick, you can come on in and wrap this up. It's been a really dynamic conversation, and appreciate you running the comments. And
Of course, yeah. What an amazing program. Thanks so much to our presenters and new ALN Organizational Member facil.ai. ALN patron members, Jacobs, Mantech, Onuma, ABS Quality Evaluations, and CGI. Thank you so much for your continued support and that of all our members, which makes programming like this possible, which we find really important for advancing the industry, any industry really. This is thought leadership at its finest and networking. So thanks all our members for helping make it possible, and for all our participants here today. And we hope to see you all back soon at one of our upcoming events. We really think this book club discussion on Nexus is a great way to familiarize yourself with AI and some of the big questions and opportunities that it's offering humanity right now. So, even if you're not discussing it with our book club, please check out this book and the ideas talked about there. And consider joining us next week, Thursday at 3, with Kimono Numa and Cyril Verlet from another ALN Organizational Member, CDV Systems. And Mike?
yeah, there were a couple things that I was going to say at the top of the show, but I was so excited to running into this one that I forgot to mention that April 8th, our organizational member Kahua is having a federal workshop at the Willard Hotel, and the ALN is invited to present at that. So we're honored for that one. And yesterday we got an invitation from the United Nations to participate in a workshop on how they could spread their asset management initiatives beyond the 220 governments they've already affected. And it's quite the honor to be on a panel talking about how to spread the word of asset management. I'll definitely be mentioning our new members, and appreciate all the attendees who have stayed here. And thank you to Keith and Danielle, and our special guests, Tracy and Kimon. And maybe Keith and Danielle, one of you might have time to be in the background for next week, since your material was part of that NFMT presentation. It kind of works all the way around. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks,
thank you.
everyone.
Bye for now.
Okay. Take care.